Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jenna Quinn, and it's my pleasure as the Assistant Director of Alumni and Affinity Engagement to welcome you all to this edition of the 49er Industry Chat Series. And just so everyone is aware, this chat is recorded. So really what that means for you is that it'll be available for you to watch again on demand on our website at www.csulb.edu/alumni. So feel free to watch it again, share it with a friend or a colleague or anyone else who you might feel as though could get something good out of this. And so with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Lanny Zechar, or Zechar. I'm sorry. How did I?
That's right, Zechar. You got it.
Zechar. Awesome. Sorry about that, Lanny. Um, so let me just read a little bit about your bio, so that way we can kind of get to know who we're talking to. Sorry, just one moment. My pets are kind of going crazy. We'll edit this out.
No worries. That happens.
So let me just read your bio really quickly, just so that way we can get to know you and get this chat started. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. So when Lanny was a sophomore in college, he struggled so much with his studies that he landed on academic probation. Several years later, he set a school record at Cal State Long Beach for the most units ever taken in one semester, almost tripling the normal load, and found a way to make the president's list with straight A's. He took his secrets he learned from his college experience and perfected them over the years, enabling him to close billions of dollars in sales while creating close, trusting relationships. He now works as a professional consultant with Internova and other major companies and does public speaking engagements across the country, helping folks improve their sales and client relations. His clients have included some of the top names in the travel industry, along with the Los Angeles Kings, Pittsburgh Penguins, Ottawa Senators, Toyota, and Target. He's spoken to crowds of up to 17,000 people, and practicing the art of trustability has made a huge difference in his life. Thank you so much for joining us. I am so excited.
Well, I'm very excited to be here. I appreciate you asking me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's just get right into it. If you don't mind sharing a little bit about your background and your experiences, and what led you to CSULB in the first place?
Well, actually, CSULB was kind of a last stop along the college train for me. I was on the 10-year plan when it came to it. I started going to college, and I only applied to one college. I applied when I got out of high school. I applied to University of California, Santa Cruz, which is a beautiful campus, and I really admired the type of philosophy that they had at that time, still have. And they said, no, we really don't want you. And so what I did was I went to junior college after that, and I really enjoyed my time at junior college. And then I went to I went to a number of schools all over the place, trying to figure it out, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, what I wanted to study, and just kind of becoming a professional student. And my parents were happy to fund that until that semester that I referenced in my bio when I was at San Diego State University. And I landed on academic probation because I was doing so many different things. I was in theater at that point, and I was acting in plays, and I was taking several classes, and of course, I was going out and having fun, like everybody does in college, and perhaps too much fun, because I ended up on academic probation, and then they pulled the plug and they said, okay, that's it. We're not going to pay for college anymore. So I then went back on my own, and after a couple of years of just working, I decided, no, I want to go back to school. And so I went back to school, and at the time I thought, wow, this is really going to be uncomfortable, because I was 24 years old when I ended up going to Cal State Long Beach, and I thought, I am so much older than everybody else. In reality, it's only, a few years older, but I really felt old at that point. And I started going to school at Cal State Long Beach, and what I had learned about school, and the reason that I was able to attain that record in my final semester is because I figured out a way to find out what it is that the instructors really wanted you to learn, wanted you to know in the course, what they really wanted to pass along. Because almost every instructor really does want to make a difference in people's lives and wants to fill you with knowledge of what they know the most. And so by focusing on that, it was very easy to kind of put a preference on that and put everything else to the side. And I loaded up with, I think it was 33 units for one semester, and ended up doing very well and taking them all and passing. Well, obviously I got A's, but that wasn't the important thing I learned from that, because the important thing I learned from that was that it really is the thing that you can do that's going to make the biggest difference is to go out and find out what is really important to people, and then focus on that and do everything you possibly can do to give that to them.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really interesting lesson to learn, and certainly speaks to transferable skills, right? So I just kind of I wonder, is the your career in the travel industry, was it something that you fell into, or was there a moment where you were like, this is what I want to do?
Yeah. Well, I struggled along the way quite a bit to try to figure out what I wanted to do. The degree I got from Cal State Long Beach was radio, TV, film. And so I initially was trying to get into that field and trying to break into that and do something in that field. And I wasn't having a whole lot of success. And I was young, got married, had a child, and so it was kind of important to find something to do right away. And I ended up getting a job with United Airlines because I really liked the travel benefits that they had. And so I started working with United Airlines, and over the years, I ended up going into sales. And when I was in sales, I ended up um, having a great time, because it was what I did was I was calling on travel agencies and trying to get them to sell more of United Airlines and the other airlines. And in doing that, I had a lot of tools at my disposal. And one of the tools was to be able to take people on what they called FAM trips, familiarization trips. And what would happen is you would get the tickets for the flight, and you would take a group of travel agents that were hopefully producing, and maybe a couple of dozen, and you would go to a five-star resort in some place in the world that was really anxious to boost their image. And then the resort would pay for all the meals and the drinks and the activities. And it was a wonderful way to see the world on somebody else's dime. And that led me to a love of travel over the years, of wanting to travel. And then it's kind of like crack cocaine. Once you try to get out, well, not that I've experienced this, but once you try to get away from it, it's really, really difficult. And travel was really difficult to get away for me. So I wanted to stay in the industry, and that's how I ended up transitioning later to the travel agency side, and then eventually to consulting. But I didn't give up on the radio, TV, film. What I did was I did that on the side, and I had an awful lot of clients that I produced TV commercials for, radio commercials, videos for corporate learning videos. And when I was with the Kings, what I did was I produced videos that went up on their jumbotron, their giant scoreboard. And then I also went and did a puck shoot where I'd go out on the ice and I'd narrate the puck shoot as people were trying desperately to win prizes. And I had a lot of other nice clients like that. But I was able to incorporate that without trying to go down one path or another. So as you can see, I kept changing gears as I went along the way quite often.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that that is something that folks don't really, folks might have in their brain, like, I'm going to school for this one certain thing. And that's definitely the field I'm going to go into. And they think they have this one path. But I think that, what you've done, and what you've been successful out in your career has been to kind of do many different things, right? And so so my question is, when you were first looking for what that path was going to be when you graduated, right? How did you know, or how did you find the navigation of where do I go, and how did you find the navigation of when it was time to switch?
That's a good question. I don't really know. I don't, and when I was young, I really didn't know how to do that. I only learned that in my later years. And I think it's interesting that you brought this subject up, Jenna, because I think in today's I did do or I have done quite a few different things in my career, and I've switched gears and changed course quite a few times. And I think that's going to happen quite a bit to folks that are graduating from college now or recently graduated. I think the world is changing so quickly, and you can't just stick to one career. My father, my grandfather, they had one job and they stuck with one company for a long period of time. That just is not going to happen anymore because I think that the world is changing so quickly. And that's pretty scary to think about that because a lot of us, we think, okay, well, I'd really like to get a job and then I'd have a job that would have certainty to it. And then I can get a house, I can go party with my friends, I can raise a family, whatever it is that you want to do. But it's that certainty of having that job that is just rock solid. And I don't know that that really exists anymore. And that is a scary thing, but it's also a very exciting thing too, because you're not what happened to the people of my parents' generation and my grandparents' generation was, yes, they had that one job and that company that really appreciated them and they stayed with a long time. But a lot of times they were really bored. They
Mm,
hated the job. They wanted to get out, but they couldn't do anything else because they were so entrenched in that one position. And I think the beautiful thing now is that you can experiment. You can go out there and you can do a lot of different things and start going down the path. And a lot of those skills are going to be transferable into a completely new career. And so I think that yes, it can be scary, but it also, I think the opportunities out there are really great. And so what I focus on when I'm talking to people that are trying to figure out what it is that they want to do for their career, what it is that is going to be their lifelong ambition, I encourage them to kind of uh, paint a broad picture. Don't look in just one direction, but try to get as much information as you possibly can. And for me, what I did not do when I was out there trying to start my career was I didn't go out there and ask a lot of questions. I didn't go find people that were doing the type of thing that I wanted to do and ask them questions or become friends with them or anything like that. I went, it's equivalent today of going on Indeed or Monster or one of those job boards and just looking at the jobs in that and then just trying to apply for them. That's kind of what I did. There was no internet when I was doing that. It was you got a newspaper and you sent off a resume by letter and that was the way you did it. But today you have the opportunity because of the information that's available on the internet to really go out there and find a lot about different careers without having to put really that much effort into it.
I mean, certainly a powerful tool, and a powerful tool for searching and for browsing, but also for networking and connection. And so I'm wondering, in your industry, whether it's the travel industry or the public speaking realm, how important is networking?
Ah, that's a golden word. And I think networking is so important. I don't think there's anything more important than networking. And again, when you think about networking, most people, particularly if you're not an outgoing individual, you think of the word networking, you think, oh my gosh, no, 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 I'm not going to do that. I don't want to network. That's not for me. I'll just, I'll just look for jobs the normal way. I'm not going to network. And really, networking is not the image I think most of us have of a networker is somebody that is just super outgoing, almost like a used car salesman, and just goes out there and talks to everybody and just slaps everybody on the back and has a conversation with everybody. But nobody likes to be networked like that. We're all the same. Nobody wants to be approached by an individual like that because if networking is not done with sincerity, I believe you're not really going to get the most out of it. There are people that if you do it with what I call insincerity, which is simply what is showing through is your desire to get something without giving something. If you do it that way, then you're going to get a negative response. But if you do it with the response that, hey, I want to give you something, I want to give you something in addition to getting something from me, then I think it's very positive. We're going back to the finding out what is really important to somebody and then building on that. So how do we network? How do we network with people that here I am, I've just graduated from college and I want to figure out what I want to do. And here are all these titans of whatever industry I want to go into. How do I contact these people? And are they going to talk to me? Is that even really going to happen? Well, the way to do that is, first of all, understand that people like myself who are up there in years, I just had my 30th birthday, so I'm pretty old. I think a lot of, well, that fell flat. I'm sorry about that. I thought that was going to be a better joke than that. But people that are up there in years, particularly people who have been doing something for a long time, they like to give advice. They really like to share advice with people. And the people that you want to find are the people that really enjoy that a lot. And the way you find that is by contacting people, and you can do it by calling people. You can do it by emailing people. You can do it by sometimes even on social media, you can reach out to people that way. But it's got to be a sincere effort, and it's got to be with the idea that, hey, I know something about you. I've done my research. I know that you've written this book. I know that you spoke at this meeting and said this. Whatever you can find on the internet about this person that appeals to you. I know you did this, and that meant a lot to me. I would really appreciate it if you could take a few minutes to talk to me about my career and perhaps give me some advice. If you put it that way, almost everybody is going to give you a positive response. If you try to send out some type of a form, email or text message or social media message, people aren't going to respond to that. Responding to people by LinkedIn, it's innate. I'm sure you get on LinkedIn all kinds of messages. I get them from people all the time, and you can tell it's a form response that they send to every single person. There's no personalization. They have spent no time putting this message together. So why should I spend my time responding to you when you're just kind of out there just watering the garden and you're not trying for anything specific? So the more specific you can be when you're trying to network with people, the better off it's going to be. You find somebody that really appeals to you, that's doing something and that you think is a good person, and then you tell them why you think they're a great person, and then you tell them what you want, which is you just want a few minutes of their time to talk to you about something. And over time, as you develop these contacts, as you talk to people, it gives people a chance to be impressed with you. But more importantly, you can find out all about what they're doing and see, no, I don't know if that really appeals to me, or if, hey, this sounds really interesting. I want to get into this. It opens up a whole world of possibilities.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so you were able to have an incredibly successful career in sales, and I imagine that that's also something that kind of tends to be similar with it kind of goes hand in hand with networking, right? So how do you best what would be the best point of advice you can give to someone who was maybe interested in going the sales route or think that that might be the best first step for them?
Well, it's an interesting question. I think that a lot of people think sales isn't for them simply because they think they have to become something that they're not.
Mm.
And that's not really the case. What I found to be the most successful in my career was to be as direct and honest and focused on the other person as I possibly could. And by that, I mean, honesty is being honest about your product, because there's no perfect product out there that's ever been developed that can solve every problem that humanity has. Every problem has its shortcomings. And guess what? They're going to figure out those shortcomings on their own. And if you can present those shortcomings at the same time you're talking about them, they think, well, okay, here's a person having an open conversation with me. They're not just trying to sell me and force something down my throat. And so I think honesty is really important. If you can be an honest individual, I think that's also really important. Also, really important is how good a listener are you, because a lot of people consider themselves to be a good listener, but the way they're a good listener is you start a conversation with them and you're halfway through the conversation and they break into that conversation and tell you about how that has affected them. You're talking about, I went to the Dodger game the other night. And I was watching the game, and then all of a sudden, the scoreboard lit up. Oh yeah, I know that scoreboard. Yeah, that scoreboard out there. Yeah, I was sitting right under the scoreboard the other night, and then suddenly somebody hit a home run, and one of these people that, okay, they're listening to part of what you're saying, but they're cutting in because it's so important to them to tell you what they think. Most people are more than happy to speak, and so you want to give them a chance to speak. And so being a good listener is important. But being a good listener is not just shutting your mouth and listening. It's also being an active listener. In other words, responding to people when they say something to you. Give them a nod, give them a smile, give them a look of recognition, or give them a quizzical look if they say something that you're kind of wondering about. Do something like that, and then ask them questions that show that you're actually listening. In other words, if I'm talking, like I said, about the Dodger game, you say, wow, and so do you go to a lot of Dodger games? No, this is the first game that I went to in like 5 years. And what made you decide to go to the Dodger game on this particular day? Whatever it is, you're having the conversation, you're leading the conversation in terms of what you want to find out from this individual. But it's showing them that, hey, they're listening to me. They're listening to what I'm actually saying. And we all want to be listened to that way. And so just closing your mouth and being a good listener is not really enough. Another thing that I think has worked so well for me over the years, I come across a lot of people that want to be in sales and want to be in customer service, and they say, I say, well, why do you want to do that? Well, I love people. That's why I want to do it. I love people. And yet they don't really show that they love people. They kind of keep that inside. They don't really express that in any way. And one of the easiest ways to express how much you care about people is to give them an enthusiastic greeting. And by an enthusiastic greeting, I mean, when you're happy to see somebody, if you haven't seen a relative or a friend in a long time and you see them, your expression of joy and happiness and the way you talk to them, you say, hey, John, how are you? God, it's great to see you. That is enthusiasm. Well, why not give enthusiasm to everybody that you're happy to see? Why not give that enthusiasm anytime you're in an interaction with anybody? I'm not saying if you come across somebody that just tried to steal $4,000 out of your bank account that you should be enthusiastic with it. That's not the type of person. But what I have found is that when I give an enthusiastic greeting to people, it is 95% of the time that starts the conversation in a very positive way, and you get many more positive responses than if you kind of start out with a hi, how are you? A low energy response. And so an enthusiastic greeting is really important. And so those are things that I think, if you are an individual that is able to express your feelings, if you're an individual that is very good at being honest and is willing to kind of look at things from a broad appeal instead of just from your perspective. And if you can focus on other individuals and see if you can give them what you want and not show off what you want, then I think you may do really well at sales.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, great advice, and almost feel like we should call this the art of the first impression.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing that's more important than a first impression.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think though, something else that folks maybe might be a good thing for folks to know, or at least get your perspective on, is they think, when they think of what it is to do sales or what it is to be in sales, they might have a picture of a lone person sitting in an office in a cubicle dialing a phone all day. But what is a day in the life of a salesperson? What is the day-to-day position look like? What is a typical day?
That's a great question. I think it varies according to what industry you're in and what type of sales position you have. But I think at the same time, there are certain things that are across the board activities that you would participate in if you were in sales. And most salespeople have a heavy amount of cold calling that they have to do. And then, in addition to cold calling, then you'll have meetings within your company, or hopefully, if you've been successful at cold calling, you'll have meetings outside the company where you're going out and meeting people and you're trying to talk to them about your product and trying to get them interested in buying whatever product that you're selling. And then I would say the end of the day is a lot of times spent in entertainment, where you're taking somebody out for a drink or for dinner or for any number of things. Over the years, when the sales things that I did, liked I like to schedule lunches with people, because lunches are kind of, you're right in the middle of the day. You're not really focused on the eating as much as you are at dinner time. You have an ample opportunity for to converse, and you're getting the individual outside of whatever their environment is. A lot of times you go to somebody in an office, and even though you've set up a meeting, they're still interrupted with phone calls or people coming into their office, or just all kinds of distractions that can happen. So a lot of sales is simply face-to-face contact and a discussion, hopefully negotiation when you get closer. But then there's also just meetings that you'll have with people in whatever environment. It kind of varies from industry to industry. But one of the most important things is cold calling. And that's another reason that most people think, well, sales really isn't for me, because I don't want to pick up the phone and make a cold call. Because our image of cold callers, I think the image is usually one of what we get at home, where we get somebody that's calling us up on the phone, and oh, God forbid if you actually pick that phone up and you're talking to somebody and you have to listen to their pitch. And their pitch is being read off of a card, or it's been memorized, whatever it is. But the message of the pitch is always, hey, what can you do for me? I'm calling you up to try to sell you this product. I don't really care if you want it. I don't really care if it benefits you. I just want to get my commission. So let me try to force this down your throat. And we all hate that. And that's why we hate cold callers in general. And so the method that I employ with most of the folks that I work with is, well, you have to create some mystery, and you also have to demonstrate that if somebody takes your cold call, if somebody actually talks to you, that they're going to benefit from it, that there's something in it for them, not just in it for you, there's something in it for them. And so, again, that takes research ahead of time to try to figure out, well, what is it that this person really needs? And how is it that I can supply that? And then the cold call should be something akin to, hey, I'm calling you because I've done a little research and I see that your company is selling whatever it is that they're selling. And I think that what we have could dramatically help you. But I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I'd like to talk to you a little bit further about that to see, and I don't want to waste your time. So if you can call me, I think this would be beneficial for you, and I really appreciate it. If you do something like that, that's a much more open method of contacting someone. And for me, it always, just being able to talk to people like that under the auspice that, hey, maybe I can help you, maybe I can't, because I don't have a solution for everybody. But for the people that I do have a solution for, hey, it works really well. If you go down that path, I think I've found it to be a lot more successful in my life, and it's appreciated a lot more. People want to talk to you, as opposed to, oh, how can we get this person off the phone as quickly as possible?
No, I definitely hear what you're saying. So switching gears a little bit, what would you say? I have a two-part question here. What would you say was the most challenging part of your career? And what would you say was the most rewarding?
Mm. The most challenging part of my career, I think just the challenging parts are the ups and downs. I think being with a company that lays you off because maybe the company has become acquired, or maybe the company is going out of business, or they just don't need whatever it was that you were doing. I think that's challenging. I think in the sales position, it can be like riding a roller coaster. I mean, you can it's kind of like a comment that I heard that a famous screenwriter made years ago about screenwriting, which is in this business, you can make a fortune, but it's hard to make a living. And I think that sales can be like that. Usually, the company's going to give you a pretty decent base salary, and then your commission builds upon that. But your sales can go up and down. You can have a horrible month or a horrible 6 months or a horrible year, and then you can have two tremendous years that all of a sudden you're making more money than you ever expected to make. And so I think that is the biggest challenge, keeping yourself motivated and not going down into the rabbit hole of being worried that, hey, I'm not going to amount to anything, or I'm not going to be able to sell anything. I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, the rewards, the easy answer to the rewards is well, when you make a big sale and all of a sudden you have this big chunk of money. That is the easy answer. However, I don't think that's, when you get to be my age and you look back on what's happened in your life and what's happened in your career, I think it's different. And for me, the biggest rewards have been the people. And the people that I've met along the way, and the friendships that I've made, and gosh, the deep, enduring friendships that I've made with people that I don't even talk to that often. I hardly ever see and I hardly ever talk to them, but you have a bond with them. You've shared something with them, that you have gotten close with them, and that I know that that's a person that I can really count on if I really need. And so I think that in my early years, I focused so much on well, who I didn't like at work, who it was that I wasn't getting along with, and oh, if only this person, they'd get rid of this person, they'd move on to something else. Oh, life would be better. And I remember when I was working in sales initially at United Airlines, I was working down in San Diego. And I thought, wow, this is great. This is a city I love. I went to school down here and failed at school, but I went to school down here and I had a great time. And I am just loving being down here. And then all of a sudden, the company came to me and they said, well, you know what? We have a guy that has some health issues. We want you to go in a different territory. And the territory is Beverly Hills. And so I said, okay. I mean, I didn't really have a choice if I wanted to stay with the company. And so I said, okay, I'll go to Beverly Hills. And they said, well, we have a person that is there now, and they're going to be leaving. And so they'll take you around and show you the ropes. And I went around with this person, and she was taking me around and showing me the different agencies that I'd be calling on. And this person said, well, you know, the reason the people respect me in Beverly Hills is because of the car I drive. I happen to have a Mercedes, and they respect me for the car I drive. And you have to show them that, hey, I'm an equal with you, and that's why you should respect me. And there's a lot of people that are not great people in this area. You should really be careful. And wow, so that was the attitude that going into it, I thought about it. And even at that young age, I thought, gosh, this is going to be miserable if I take this attitude that she has. Like, they don't like me because of the car. Well, who you really want to hang out with people that like you only because of your car? And so I determined right off the bat, I want to find something I like and can focus on about every single person that I deal with. So with some people, it took a little longer than others to find something I really like, but I was able to find something I liked. And I think that's apropos to anybody that we come across, because I think in today's society, so many times it seems like we're really far apart, and oh, there's people on this side, there's people on this side, and we're never going to come together because, oh, these people hate these people. And you think that that other person is somebody I really hate, I really dislike. And really, there are a lot of things that you can often find about people that you really don't like that much. And that was what I did. I went out and I found things that I liked about every single person. I had a wonderful time because I focused on those things.
Good. Yeah, no, I think that I think that's good advice, right? Like not just finding the silver lining in any given situation, but finding kind of the silver lining in the relationship that you had.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So at a certain point though, you kind of transitioned not just from sales, but also to public speaking. And so I was just hoping you'd share a little bit more about that, like how you got into it, um, what sort of messaging that you like to give, and as well as, how, how do people find you, or how do you find jobs to speak at?
Oh, sure. Well, first of all, finding jobs to speak at is very similar to finding customers in sales. It's still reaching out and calling people, talking to people, and you say, "Hey, look, I've got a speech prepared, or I've got a program prepared that I think would be of great interest to you because of whatever reason that you found out about that company, about what they may be interested in." And I would really be interested in talking to you about being able to present this at your next event. And that's simply all it is. But it's being, I mean, I guess I'm simplifying it, but it does take a lot of work because you do have to research, and then you have to figure out who to call and who to talk to, and then of course you're not going to be successful with every call that you make. You have to just be ready to um, not take rejection as something that's a horrible thing, and be able to move on from that. And so, in course of my working at United Airlines, and then my working with the travel agencies that I work with, I did a lot of public speaking, both internally and externally, where I was speaking to people within the company, but then also at different events, at different industry events that would come up, or different client events that would come up. I would do a lot of public speaking, and I thought that was something that was something that, going even back into college, that I really enjoyed doing. I remember taking the public speaking class in college. I thought, wow, this is great. And so, by honing my skills over the years, doing this and really enjoying it, I thought, well, no, now you have to go out and do this on my own and pass these messages on. And I think the messages that I try to pass on when I speak, it's there. I mean, it kind of depends on the company or the individuals that I'm speaking to, what the organization is and what it is that they want, because that's the important thing, is to give them what they want. But the message is always the same. It's about building trust, and it's about being able to communicate with people, and it's about being able to express yourself in the best possible way. And that's a message that I pass on repeatedly to people.
Yeah, no, that's great. Um, you know, in um in your experience, and feel free to answer for either or for both industries here, for your sales experience in the travel industry or your public speaking experience. But different technologies like art, especially today, artificial intelligence, right, is really on the rise and is kind of taking space as something that's going to be industry changing. In your perspective, what role is AI or emerging technologies likely to play? And is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good question, Jenna, because, and I don't know, I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that. And I think I think AI is kind of like the internet. I mean, the internet has been so terrific and so incredible, such an incredible invention in our lives. And at the same time, there's a lot of negativity to it. I mean, it's a lot of hatred has been spread over the internet. A lot of scams have become very refined over the internet, and so it's something that has been both positive and negative. I think it's overwhelmingly positive, but it has been both. And I think AI is probably going to be pretty similar to that. I think it's going to be something that is positive, but at the same time, it's something that can be negative. And my feeling about AI when it comes to coaching and when it comes to um, instruction, when it comes to learning anything, there are going to be people just like now that can learn things by watching a YouTube video, and they can figure out whatever it is that they want to figure out just by watching the video. And there are others that need that. And we all have different learning styles, and there are others that need that personal touch, that need the human touch, so to speak. And I think for us, it's gosh, I don't think the need for human one-on-one interaction is ever going to change over the years. I think it just won't. I think AI will make it more challenging in a lot of ways, but the AI that I've seen certainly still has glitches, and I think that what has led me to success in my career has been to being able to personalize something. In other words, being able to approach someone with information about them that shows that you're interested in them. You're not just throwing out a generic, hey, please buy my product type of thing, or please pay attention to me. And I think that a lot of AI is like that. A lot of AI is still kind of in that form letter stage where it's kind of more easily recognizable that, well, I haven't really done my homework. I'm just, here it is. Here's a nice little letter that I came up with. But that's just my opinion. What's your opinion on it? Do you think it's going to ruin our lives?
Well, I certainly hope it won't. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that there's a lot. I think it's one of those things that's just going to impact all the different industries, which is why I think that it's a great question for this particular series for sure.
Sure.
Well, so it's hard to believe, but we are coming up right on that mark of time. And so there's a question that I always really like to ask, as sort of a wrap up, which is, if you could either wave a magic wand or get into a time machine, and go back and find yourself, maybe right as you were about to graduate from CSULB, or right when you were at that finish line, what piece of advice would you give to yourself?
Mm. I think in my life, what I would say is people are good, and be good to people, and go out and find the goodness in others. Go out and really look for that and find the goodness in others, because I think that's where the real riches are. Is going out and making connections with others. And we've talked about cold calling, we've talked about networking, we've talked about different ways of communicating with people. But what really comes down to is building friendships. You're building trust, but you're building friends. And I always felt like whoever I ended up selling something to, or whoever I ended up getting turned down on a sales that I was on a sales effort that I was trying, I got to know them pretty well, and I considered them a friend. Whether they bought something from me or not, I considered them a friend. And I think if you take the attitude that, hey, I'm building friends as opposed to I'm building a network, or I'm just getting to know people, or I'm trying to move myself forward. If it's just I'm building friends who can help me in the future, I think that's what I think I try to tell my younger self.
No, I think a very good piece of advice for everyone, right? Build your friends, build your network, get that village, right?
Sure, sure,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. We've really enjoyed your expertise. For everyone who has joined in, thank you so much for spending this time with us. And again, this will be available to you on our website at www.csulb.edu/alumni. And we'd also encourage you to check out our website, to follow us on social media at CSULB alumni on all of the different platforms, so that way you can keep up to date with us. Reach out to us with any questions, or if you want to figure out more ways to get engaged, and also to make sure you don't miss the next industry chat. Um, but if folks wanted to get in touch with you, how might they do so?
Well, I'd love to hear from different folks. I've always been very happy to interact with anybody from Cal State Long Beach that has a link, or just anybody in general. I have a website. It's lannyzechar.com. I think you'll have the spelling in somewhere up so they can figure that out. If you go on the website, there are videos there, blogs, there are all kinds of things that talk about more in depth what we've covered today. It's absolutely free. There's no cost to pay for that. Or you can go on my LinkedIn website. You can send me a message on LinkedIn. You can send me a message through the website. If anything that I've said has been interesting to you folks today, please contact me. Make me your first person that you're contacting and trying to build your network, because I can help people just like other people in my position can. So I really look forward to that. And Jenna, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed our chat.
Absolutely, Lanny. Thank you so much. And thank you all so much. And next, we will be sure to see you next time. Have a good one.